Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today, my voice might sound weird because I have a bit of a cold thing going on. But anyway, this is my September wrap up, and I'm going to talk about what I'm going to read in October for the Trick or Treatathon. So September seemed to go by really fast, but also to drag for me. I don't know why. Either way, I read a bunch of books. I read 10 books, in fact. I read 2 cozy fantasies, 1 horror fantasy, 1 horror, 1 classic sci-fi, 1 historical fiction fantasy, 1 urban fantasy, and 3 science fiction. They were Bookshops and Bone Dust, which I really, really liked. It was my introduction into Travis Baldry's stuff, and I also listened to Legends and Lattes on audiobook, so that was really fun too. These 2 are the cozy fantasies I talked about an orc lady who's just trying to live her life, and it's really fun. I read The Claw of Craving by Joseph Sale, which is a horror fantasy about a man that undergoes a very interesting rite of passage to enter this fantasy realm. It's a bit wild and not really for the faint of heart, but it was really interesting. I read The Djinn-Bot of Shantiport, which I really enjoyed, which is a futuristic retelling of Aladdin with AI and interesting technology. It's really fun. The Last Castle by Jack Vance was the classic sci-fi that I read, which was really fun. I liked it a lot. Then I read Let Him In, which is a horror book, and there's twins in it, and they're creepy children, and then there's a grieving widower, and there's kind of a ghost in the house. It was really good. I recommend it for Halloween season. I read Shield Maiden, which I really enjoyed, which is a Beowulf retelling. You can find all of these reviews, in my feed and my channel. I also listened to Certain Dark Things on audiobook, which was for the Interstellar Book Club's pick for September, which I enjoyed. It's a vampire story. It's good for this time of year. And then The Last to Leave the Room was also good for this time of year because it's a psychological thriller about a woman where a door appears in her basement and then her doppelganger walks out of it. And yeah, you have to figure out why. Why is this woman here? And is she a doppelganger? What is she? And it's really interesting. When it comes to my favorite book of the month, I must say that Djinn-Bot and Shield Maiden were really high up there. Like if Bookshops and Bone Dust didn't exist, I would have a really hard time picking between those 2. But because Bookshops and Bone Dust does exist, that's what I'm going to pick because I really loved it. I'm definitely going to buy a physical copy, and I'm definitely going to marry that skeleton. I wonder if I should just remove any book with a skeleton character from eligibility of best book of the month because they seem to always win. But no, it just could be because I just really like fantasy. It's funny because when I first started this channel a couple years ago or a year, I don't even know how long I've been doing this for. Maybe 3 years. I have no idea. Time is an illusion. I was not reading a lot of fantasy, but I really got back into it this year for some reason, and I found out reminded myself how much I really like it. Anyway, in October, I'm going to participate in the Trick or Treatathon. Skyla at her channel listed below posted about it back in September, and it sounded really fun, so I jumped on board. It's super organized, and it's got TBR boards and bingos and Instagram prompt challenges. I'm pretty excited about it. As such, I have quite the TBR for it, which I'm not sure if I'm going to get through it all because October, of course, is the busiest month of the year for me because I've got a wedding to go to, I've got my daughter's birthday, we've got Thanksgiving here, we've got Halloween, and we got all the stuff that goes along with that, which is going to the pumpkin patch, that kind of stuff. So my time to sit around and read is quite limited, but I do have the evenings. Of course, I'm working on a personal writing project right now, which I just got into, so I'm afraid of putting that on hold and I'll never get back to it. So it's just it's a little time. Maybe I just shouldn't work. Anyway, so for the Trick or Treatathon, we build our own bingo boards, and that's kind of how we get points. As I said, you can watch Skyla's channel below if you want to learn the rules and join in. I think you can join in for the first of this week, and then it's kind of cut off. But anyway, you build your own bingo board, and so of course you get a list of 50 prompts to pick from, and there's you can put 24 numbers on there. And so I obviously picked the first 4 I'm going to read for sure are going in the corners because that gets you the most points, and then I've kind of lined it up. So anyway, I tried to be very strategic about it, and I'm a very strategic person, so I think I've done a good job here. We'll see. The thing is, I already had some books on my TBR for Nick Alley and stuff, so I had to be very creative about the prompts. I could find nowhere for the stainless steel rat to fit, so I'm going to be doing that and a second classic sci-fi book in November to make up for it. I am going to be doing a classic sci-fi this month, but it's not really a classic, and I'm going to start with it because it's so funny. Where is it? I'm going to be reading the first Doom book because then you guys don't have to. I actually have all 4 of them, so I'm gonna definitely be reading this because I'm sure I can read it all in like probably like an hour, and it's probably gonna be funny and it's gonna be nostalgic. And so I picked it because it has an orange cover, and that's one of the prompts. And I think it actually gets me 2 prompts, or so, I can't remember. Something else about this book gets me something. Anyway, I'm not gonna go through all my prompts and all that crap. I'll talk about that probably never. But sorry, my chair's all squeaky, and I don't know if you guys can hear that. So I've already read this one, but I'm not counting it towards the readathon, and I'm reviewing it tomorrow. And it's called The Brickworks. It's a historical fiction about 2 men that create you guessed it, a brickworks, which is a place where you create bricks. Yeah, it's what you expect. Anyway, so I'm reviewing that tomorrow. It doesn't count for the readathon. And then I have Once a Monster, which is a book about the Minotaur, my favorite monster of all time. And it's about him living in like 1890s, 1870s, I can't remember, 1870s London, and there's a little girl that finds him washed up on the river after he's been stabbed a bunch of times. It's all about him kind of remembering that he's the Minotaur, and he grows his horns back and things like that. It's really cool. Anyway, I really like it so far. I'm also going to be reading The Odyssey of Fletcher next, which is an arc by an indie author. I'm pretty sure it's a small press. I'm not really sure, but I have quite a little backstory to do with this book that I'll explain when I review it. It's post-apocalyptic about kind of like that one I read, the one with the balls on the cover. Manhunt. Pardon me. Manhunt, where all the men are dead and there's only ladies left, and then this guy, he's the only man alive. And it's really, it's like a satire, and I'm really interested in it. And as I said, I have like a history with it, so I'll kind of explain that when I review it, maybe, if I remember. After that, I'm going to read this book, Alice, which I've heard is kind of harrowing. And this is a horror book. It's a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, or what happened to her after she came back from the Wonderland. Yeah, I've heard it's like really dark. And that's okay, because it's Halloween time. Though I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid. I'm also going to read Godworld, which is the 3rd book in Philip Ginn or Gin. I still don't remember how to say his last name. I'm sorry. The 3rd installment of his Illuminator series, where I'm not going to kind of explain it because it'll give spoilers for the other 2, but it's a really fun series, kind of a new adult thing, and it's good. And then I'm also going to be reading The Pinchers of Death, which I said I was going to read back in July, but I didn't get to it. And I really want to do this one because they're at the dollar store. They have this little tiny skeleton of like a crab, and I want to use it in the photo, and that's the main reason why I'm reading it. Also because I'm going to read it so fast because I love these books, and it's the last one in the series. I also have a couple of ebooks. I'm going to read The Salt Grows Heavy, which is a novella. It's a horror, I believe. I don't know. Looks cool. I also have Jawbone, which is... I can't remember if that's a contemporary fiction or sci-fi. I have no idea, but it's from a small press, and I'm super interested in it. I also am going to be reading The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin with the Interstellar Book Club if I can find it. I thought I had it, so I'm going to have to like hunt through my stacks here. But if I don't find it, I don't know if I'm actually going to buy it, because I have read it already, like years ago. Maybe the library has it. Anyway, and then if my library again pulls through and gets me The Death I Gave Him, which is a Hamlet retelling, closed door mystery kind of thing, then I will read that if the library gets it in on time. If not, then maybe I'll read it next month. So I will see you folks tomorrow, I guess, for my review of Brickworks, if I don't like die of my cold. Yeah, so thanks. Bye.